had a busy week. We've been pissing people off left and right. I love it. I absolutely.
Yeah.
Who would have thought a subjective list of 10 names would make people insane online? I did. I absolutely knew this would. I fully anticipated the rational discourse that happened online.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in. This is Discussions on the Takedown on SI. Great to be here this Friday morning. I'm Zach Heydorn. That's Rick Ucchino. Rick, what's going on, dude? We got a busy weekend coming up.
Yes, we do. And we've had a busy week. We've been pissing people off left and right. I love it. I absolutely.
Yeah.
Who would have thought a subjective list of 10 names would make people insane online? I did. I absolutely knew this would. I fully anticipated the rational discourse that happened online with our guy SP3, who dropped his list of the top 10 women in WWE history, an all-encompassing list. And boy, there are some people who came to bat for their faves. My goodness.
They sure did. Let me run down the list here just so we've got it on the official record here on the show for us to discuss. So number 10, Alundra Blaze, Medusa. 9, Bianca Belair. 8 is Asuka. 7, the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna. Number 6 is Bayley. Number 5, Sasha Banks. 4 is Lita. 3, she'll be wrestling this weekend in Elimination Chamber, Trish Stratus. Number 2, Charlotte Flair. And number one, Becky Lynch. So, you know, I look at this list. This is best WWE women's wrestlers. So, you know,
and
keep that in mind.
And let's go over the criteria here, right?
Yes,
like,
go over the criteria.
It's not just who was the most influential, right? Or who's the best bell to bell, or who cuts the best promo. It is all of it. It is a list based off of career accomplishments, match quality, promos, character work, impact, influence, legacy. It's all taken into account here. Like, for example, there are some women who I think would be on this list if they had wrestled in a different time in WWE. AJ Lee jumps out immediately to me. If AJ Lee came up in 2016, she might be where Becky is. Honestly. Like, this was a woman who was on Becky's trajectory when she was with the company. Remember, they started crafting entire shows around her. There just wasn't anywhere for her to ascend to because there were no Women's Royal Rumble back then, or Money in the Bank, Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania main events. Those weren't even a possibility, weren't even a thought. Even as it's not even that long ago that AJ Lee was wrestling. She's only been retired a decade, right? So we're not talking that long ago. But those things weren't possibilities then. And those things hindered stars like an AJ Lee or a Nikki Bella, or, you know, go even further back. So there's a lot of things that come into play here. Again, when you talk about a subjective list, and this wasn't just SP3 throwing names down on a paper and hitting publish. Him and I had extensive conversations about this. He brought it up in the chat with all of the writers here on the Takedown and SI, and we all agree. Now, do I agree top to bottom with his list? I do not. I will say this much. If you're a fan of Bianca Belair, you're welcome, because she's in this list because of me. Okay? I'm just throwing that out there right there. But what were your overall thoughts on this list, Zach?
I think the list is actually really, you know, you can make lists in wrestling, and you could probably show me 10 of these lists and I'd be like, okay, those are all pretty solid. They all make sense. I can see how you got there. I think this list makes a heck of a lot of sense. And I think when you list out that criteria, I think it hits the mark from start to finish, from top to bottom. Mainly number one being Becky Lynch, I think it should be more of a layup than it seems to be out there in the ethos. Like, this is a woman who has very good matches. She was one of the 4 horsewomen that indoctrinated like women's wrestling in its current state in WWE. She is a main reason why women were able to main event WrestleMania for the very first time. Yes, Ronda Rousey was there too, but Becky was like top talent, top star over at that time, WrestleMania 35. She carried the company on her shoulders up until and through that event. It's on her. That's her. She's the big star of that show. That's her time. So she's got an era. She's good in the ring. She's great on the mic. Historically, she's very meaningful to the company and to women's wrestling. She checks every single box at the highest of high levels. So when I look at this list, I'm like, do you have, and I always start this way with lists like this, do you have number one right? And I think we do here unabashedly.
Yeah, there's no question in my mind. And I understand, and I think a lot of people, if they watch this, if they know me, right, they're gonna go, oh, well, of course you're gonna put Becky number one. Yes, okay. I have rose-colored glasses more often than not when I look at Becky Lynch because I have such admiration for her, and she will always be my all-time favorite. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt, all right? This is part of the reason why I wasn't the one writing this list.
You could not list Becky 10 times, so no.
I just insulted, okay? But you have to understand something. And for those people who just can't fathom, right? Because Becky's not the best in the ring, bell to bell. She's not the most athletic. She'll be the first one to tell you that. But the fact that she was able to overcome her shortcomings in professional wrestling to ascend to a level that no other woman has had before or has since. She took over the company. She transcended wrestling for that time. She was professional wrestling from the end of 2018 through WrestleMania 35 in April of 2019, and did so in the face of some of the most nonsensical, convoluted, dipshit booking, pardon my French, I've ever witnessed in my life. They had something that was such a layup, and they tried so hard to clank it off the back of the iron, but she carried it through. And you said it, right? Yeah, Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. That was the plan for WrestleMania 35, potentially to main event from WrestleMania 34 out, right? That was what they were trying to build toward. I will die on this hill, and this is something that me and SP3 have argued about in the past and will argue about again in the future, but I will die on this hill. That match, the women don't main event WrestleMania 35 without Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. You needed them both to main event that match. It wasn't one woman or the other. You have to have the balance, the yin and the yang. You needed that Batman Joker kind of I don't know, the dynamic to get that match to WrestleMania 35. And then you throw in a generational talent like a Charlotte Flair, who, by the way, finished number 2 on our list, if you're tuning in here a little bit late, obviously with all of her accolades, and she might be the best bell-to-bell wrestler in the world. Is she the best on the microphone? I don't think a lot of people would say she is, and I think that's a fair statement, and I think she would agree with that. I think she's one of the best heels in that she's a natural heel. Has she found a way to be a babyface? Depends. She got some people who like her.
Misses, yeah.
It's hits and misses, right? Again, subjective. It's all subjective, but I don't think that you can look at everything that Becky has accomplished, all the glass ceilings that she helped shattered, all the work that she has done. And it's not just us saying, hey, take my word for it, bro. You have people like Nixon Noel, right? AKA Tegan Knox, who was just let go, who said Becky, for her entire run as NXT Women's Champion, was pushing to work with underutilized talent on the main roster to help get them over, helped solidify Tiffany Stratton as a main event player, who we were all like, yeah, she's got the potential to be there, but how does she stack up against the Becky Lynches of the world? Total star, knocked it out of the park, helped put Tiffany Stratton on the map. Look where she's at now, right? Helped put Lyra Valkyria over.
Liv Morgan
put her over by having her win the NXT Women's Championship off of her just 42 days into her run, right? There's a lot of work. She's always pushing and always fighting behind the scenes for the betterment of the women's division, and not just herself. Bayley is another woman who is like that by all accounts, from everybody that I've spoken with, that you have spoken with, that anybody has spoken with. You know, there's a lot to take into account for that. And of course, naturally, all 4 of the 4 horsewomen we're going to wind up on this list. They all end up in the top 6. But I mean, you got to understand, again, it's influence is part of this, and all 4 of them collectively together helped shape WWE and help push the women's evolution forward to where It's now a norm that we have a women's Money in the Bank and a women's Royal Rumble and a women's Elimination Chamber like we're going to see this weekend. So they all deserve to be there. Now, do I agree with the overall rankings top to bottom on this? I do not. I think Sasha Banks is ranked a little high, personally. Again, based off of accolades and where she was in the company. And I don't think that's her fault necessarily. I just think WWE kept the foot on her for some reason and didn't really let her loose. And for me, I would have Bianca Belair much higher than where she's at right now. I think she has already eclipsed a lot of the women on this list. I'd have her at number 4 personally, just based off of everything that she's accomplished and already will and will continue to accomplish. If she wins the Elimination Chamber this weekend, you got to think about this. She will have her 4th one-on-one singles championship match at WrestleMania.
That's crazy. Yeah.
This short into her career. She's got an undefeated streak that is going right now. Rhea Ripley will be in the top 10 by the time her career is over. I think injuries and again, a little bit of hindrance on the creative side when she first came up, but she's only 27 years old, something like that. So
yeah, she's got so much in front of her.
She'll work her way into it, but I would already put Bianca Belair a little bit higher. I'd have Bayley ahead of Sasha Banks as well. And I'm trying to put the list up here. Let's see. I'd probably drop Sasha down to 6. I think I'd have Bianca and Bayley ahead of her. But other than that, man, I really can't complain with anybody who is on this list or any of the position that they're already in.
I can't either. I think the changes that I would make is I would probably move China down a little bit. She has an incredible amount of historical significance, but she loses a lot in terms of, in ring. She was never as over as some of these other women, like individually, like singular, like right. as a top star, just doesn't have it. So I would move her down. I think I would move Sasha down as well and Bianca up. I agree with you on that front. My last question to you on this topic. Should Ronda Rousey be on this list?
No.
Just putting the foot down, huh?
No, I don't. Not over any of these other women. No.
Okay.
I think clearly she's a star. Clearly she's a star and she had influence, right? But she also had her issues. And again, she was also somebody who was massively mismanaged when she was in the company. So a lot of it's not her fault. But I wouldn't put her in the top 10 now.
And yeah, there's a lot of, I think she kind of is in the bucket of, you look back at history, when you look back at WWE signing that big Fox deal for SmackDown, like Ronda is a lead at that point for your show, for your company, big part of that. But I think the mismanagement of her, she should have been like Brock Lesnar, and she wasn't. And instead she kind of was like having these like 50-50 matches with like Ruby Riott and like a Liv Morgan that's not today's Liv Morgan, right. 5, 6, 7 years ago. And that did not do her any favors. I get that she wanted to present as like, I'm all in on this. I'm full time. But I think that hindered her in terms of like perception, and she would have been much, much stronger had she not taken that route.
Right. And here's the other thing, right? Like she had an impactful couple of years, but really she only had a couple of years, right? She had like that one run from 34 to 35, then left for 2-3 years. Which one was it? 3 years. She left for 3 years, came back, and then went all the way up to SummerSlam of 2023. And honestly, I think she peaked right then and there when she left.
Yeah,
I think the best utilization that WWE ever had was ahead of the MMA match with Shayna Baszler, because they just let her be her.
Right.
They just let her be her, and they put Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey in the environment that works best for them. It's that old adage, right? If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you're going to think it's dumb as hell, right? And I'm obviously paraphrasing, but that's what they did with Ronda Rousey. They told her to go out there and be a smiling baby face and kiss babies and shake hands and cut these, uplifting. That's not Ronda Rousey.
Not even close. Like, it's such a miss on her personality. Yeah.
No, it's the same thing they constantly do with Charlotte Flair. She's not a baby face. And that's part of the reason why I put Becky Lynch number 1, because she has that natural connection with the audience that you just want to adore her. You want to love her. You want to cheer for her. She always had the audience behind her, even when they weren't doing anything with her. All she had to do was talk about quinoa on social media backstage, and you had people clamoring for her to be on television. But at the same time, I thought some of her best character work was as big time Bex. I thought she's just as an effective heel as she is a baby face. And, the only thing that really hindered that run was the fact that you had these stubborn Becky Lynch stands like myself who were like, I'm not going to boo her, man. I'm not going to boo her. I'm not going to do it. She can crap all over my city all she wants. I'm not going to boo her, man. I can't do it. So, it was just, that was the only thing. She's so beloved. People didn't want to boo her. She was one of these heels who were going, man, she's such a good heel. I love that, which in turn makes her a bad heel, right? Because she ain't Logan Paul. I'm not telling her to F off and get out of my city like I was to Logan Paul Monday on Raw. But especially after that Joe Burrow comment. But anyway, because the truth hurts. But it's just one of those things.
Cold. That was cold.
It was cold. It was his best line yet, and I hate him for it even more. Effective heel, right?
Yeah.
But Becky's work top to bottom, I think she just excels above everybody. Again, overall rating. And I think a very important part, last note on this, WWE resume only. Very important criteria that I don't think we've specified yet. Because Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, collectively, I'd probably have her at 4. WWE, I got her at 6 or 7.
That's fair. Check out the list, you guys. Check it out. It's up on the Takedown on SI right now. SP3 did a wonderful job putting it together. Debate respectfully. Come on. We're not. We don't need to. Threaten each other out there. It should be a fun conversation. It's definitely a fun conversation starter, and I'm glad we got to break it down and discuss it here. Let's turn attention to last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. Ricochet. Swerve Strickland, big news coming out of the show last night. They are headed for a number 1 contendership match at AEW Revolution. Winner is going to get a shot at Jon Moxley or Cope for the AEW World Title. Not specified when that's going to happen or when that match would take place, but that is in the cards. I really liked how this segment came together. I think it's one of the better AEW Dynamite like pay-per-view segments. Let's green light this booking in quite some time. And the reason being, I thought that it all was really, really logical. It's like you had this heel, he's Ricochet, he's already beat Swerve Strickland. How do you as babyfaces in a smart way entice this guy to take a rematch? What do? You dangle out this big kind of prize. And it made Prince Nana worthwhile. I think it made Ricochet a kind of a conniving, scared heel, but also one that's going to jump at opportunity when he gets it. And then Swerve just gets to stand there and look like a badass and like, hey, all right, great, I got my match. So I thought it played out very logically. I'm really pleased to see Ricochet doing what he's doing. I think he's found a voice as a character, and it gives him more to do. It gives him more depth. It gives him more than just being a high flying wrestler. And I think the two of them should have a banger of a match come Revolution. So I was just really happy with this. I think whoever the opponent is, either one, Swerve mainly, but even if they went the Ricochet route, I think it sets up Jon Moxley for something interesting too. So this got a big old yellow star from me yesterday.
First off, clearly we're recording this because this is Friday morning now, but I digress. You said last night, like multiple times. 2 nights ago. But anyway, peel behind the curtain there. Yeah, we recorded this. If you didn't notice by the fact that we didn't talk about The Rock last Friday, thanks, Dwayne. Right. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Dwayne. A phone call would be nice. All right.
Yeah, just give us a heads up if you're going to break news on a Thursday night when we record on a Thursday afternoon. By the way,
that came out literally like 3 hours after
3 hours after, like I had just edited the video, and I'm like, you mother. We did talk about the return of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on our Elimination Chamber prediction show with Ryan Drosty, which is up on the channel right now. So once you're done, checking us out here, if you haven't watched that yet, swing on over to the the pay-per-view prediction, PLE prediction section, and give that a check out as we break down this weekend's Elimination Chamber card, which is why we're not doubling up and talking about it here on the Takedown Discussions today. But going back to the environment talk that I was speaking of earlier, Ricochet, hands down, right? Like, this is a guy who honestly for whatever reason wasn't working in the WWE system. And it's surprising to me that he comes over to AEW and that's where he's doing the best character work of his career. It's so weird because you think, clearly they'll just let Ricochet go over to AEW or the best wrestle. He'll put on these banger matches that he wants to do that are more than 3 minutes in length. He won't be, cannon fodder for the Brock Lesnar's and this, that, and the other thing of the world. They'll actually maybe he'll win the international championship or he'll do that or this, that, or the other thing. But no, he's actually come over here. They've given him a chance to talk. They've given him a chance to, whether it's be himself or find his own avenue, his own voice, his own character. And he has found a way to turn into a Dirty Dom level heat magnet in AEW. He comes in here with the big ass glasses and the annoying laugh and just looking like Urkel on steroids, but somebody who could still whoop your ass.
Yep.
Right? He's somebody who can back up what he's saying. And I think the moment for me that just completely flipped the script on Ricochet and had me buy in, and I'm not just saying it because it happened in Cincinnati, it's when he stabbed Strickland with the scissors. And I'm just like, oh, we get dark Ricochet. Oh, okay. Like this has been a remarkable turn for him. And I think this whole entire storyline has shown AEW can do effective storytelling, right? It's not just random matches after random matches after random matches. And I think it got into that lull for a little bit, but AEW has quickly stacked really good show on top of really good show on top of really good show with storyline driven content. And I think it started with Swerve and Ricochet. I really do. I think that was always the thing that kept my interest peaked, along with what Tony Storm was doing and a lot of the women's division stuff was doing. Harley Cameron, obviously somebody we've talked about on this show from an entertainment standpoint. Mercedes, from a match and entertainment standpoint, has kept my interest peaked. But from the men's side of things, man, it was a lot for the longest time. It was Ricochet and it was Swerve and it was what they were doing. And even recently, like this is something we've talked about. I think, the Death Riders thing has started to take a turn in a better direction. I thought Wednesday night, I think Adam Copeland like literally turning into a cerebral assassin, not to do gimmick infringement here, but him just saying, yeah, I'm gonna literally just pick off all your dudes one at a time. And oh, by the way, I'm gonna get Willow over here to take care of Marina because I don't hit girls. But like the way that Cope has gone about this has made this has righted that ship. MJF and Hangman Adam Page was something that AEW desperately needed, right? They swerved away from the MJF, Jeff Jarrett stuff and started putting more focus on their younger talent than the dudes who are over 40, right? Over 50 in some cases.
Yeah.
And I say that even though Adam Copeland is wrestling for the AEW World title next weekend. They have taken a turn, and I think it started with Swerve and Ricochet. And yeah, I think this works out great. I'm very interested to see who wins, and I'm interested to see what Prince Nana does, because they have found a way to make an object, something like a robe, something like a friendship bracelet for those people who hated that MacGuffin, and they have made that a central figure, a personal item, make it a central figure of a rivalry in AEW, and it makes Prince Nana interesting to see what he's going to do, because he said, look, yeah, I want you to focus on the world title, Swerve. I want you to go get it. You have found a way to kill two birds with one stone. You can take out Ricochet and get a step closer to the AEW title in one fell swoop. But you also better get my damn robe back, because I've taken a lot of bullets for you. And if you don't get this done for me, I don't know if I'm going to be taking any more bullets.
I think when we preview this next week, which you guys can all check out on the podcast, we'll do a preview show for Revolution. But regardless of which way they go, like I think if Swerve wins and he gets the and he gets the robe, and Nana puts it on him. That's going to be a huge moment that they've created with this visual of the symbol of the robe, right? You can also, on the flip side, you can do a Nana heel turn here, and he can side with Ricochet and then make Ricochet that, kind of that Jimmy Rave embassy-like guy that Nana is behind. And I think each of those scenarios is interesting in its own way. But to your point, it's because it took this little symbol, took this little item, and that made something out of it, and they put some meaning behind it. They took the time to actually tell you, hey, this is Jimmy Rave's robe, and it means Nana's out there for a promo by himself, no Swerve, talking about the significance of this robe. And you didn't see AEW jump through those hoops to put that type of context behind stuff like that. It would just be like, oh, I really care about this robe now. And it's like, well, we didn't see that. Nobody saw it. You didn't tell us about it. This they pivoted on, and I think it's had very, very positive impact on the storyline. All right, last topic here before we wrap up. Bron Breakker WrestleMania rumors.
Yes.
Jump in, just feet first on that one. Like, do you like what they have potentially set up for him? Multiple person match. Do you think it should be a singles match? Does he need that at this point? Where are you at on Bron Breakker going into WrestleMania?
I think Bron Breakker, unfortunately, he kind of feels like an afterthought on Raw and Netflix, doesn't he? Like, ever since the flip over to Netflix in January, it feels like he has gotten lost in the shuffle amongst, the Jey Usos and the Seth Rollins and the Drew McIntyre before he moved over to SmackDown. And then they had the whole transfer window, and they were bringing Cody over for these shows. And hell, they had Cody on Monday Night Raw and CM Punk, and then they bring Penta into the mix, and then they're focusing, on all the Judgment Day stuff. And it's just like, man, when was the last time Braun defended the Intercontinental title? Oh yeah, it was Saturday night's main event against Sheamus. And what has he done since then?
On January 25th, that's a month ago.
Yeah, he speared I Show Speed. That's all he's done in the past, and he whooped up on Dominic Mysterio, right? Like that's literally all the guy has done. They haven't given him a whole lot except for these teases, right? Except for we're going to tease something with Penta. Okay, cool. We're going to tease something with AJ Styles. Okay, cool. Well, now we're teasing something with Finn Balor. And I'm like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Can we do something already? Can we do anything
Stop
already?
teasing.
Like, stop teasing. Stop setting stuff up. Make a move, right? Like, that's where I'm at now. You've set up the chessboard. Make a damn move. And I honestly think it makes the most sense here to do a multi-person match. And this is something that was reported by WrestleVotes, I believe, on the Backstage podcast. So, just to give proper credit on that. But, they almost have to do one or two multi-person matches every year. And if you're going to shuffle through and do something different, because last year it was the tag team titles, right? They had 4 different teams fighting for both belts. So you get 8 people, you get 8 people in one match. Great. A lot of people get their daily paycheck. They always they do it with the women a lot too. They have tag team matches or multi women tag team title matches to get more people involved. I think you almost have to do the Intercontinental title multi-person match this year just to get Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Penta,
Bron
Breakker, maybe Ludwig Kaiser, right? Yeah. Maybe, and I'm not saying it has to be a ladder match or anything crazy like that, but this is something I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that they have to do just for the sake of getting a lot of people who deserve to be on the WrestleMania card actually on the WrestleMania card. Because if you start talking about, well, what about the rumored AJ Styles Finn Balor singles match? Okay, well, great. So now we're talking about an AJ Styles Finn Balor singles match. We're talking about a Randy Orton, because there's rumors that he's going to be coming back here soon. We talked about that possibility on the Elimination Chamber prediction show, right? Talking about Randy Orton and Kevin Owens as a singles match on the card. Potentially you are talking about, oh God, I'm drawing a blank here.
I mean, I think you're going to have like a Drew McIntyre match, singles
match.
Yeah,
Drew McIntyre versus somebody, Damian Priest. That was a match that was supposed to be that was being talked about. You have Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. That could be a direction that they go.
Logan Paul is probably going to have a singles
match somewhere. So you're talking 5, 6 non-title men's matches at that point. And it's like, you have 11 championships that you need to defend that weekend too. Some of them are going to wind up on SmackDown the night before, just out of, necessity, right? Because you're going to run out of time, even on 2 nights. The roster is just too massive. So I think it would not surprise me to do a 6-person ladder match.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And I also think for Bron Breakker, like, he's in a weird spot because it seems like it's not a bad spot, just an interesting spot, because it seems like they want to push him as this like badass, top guy. But the best way to do that is to like put him at the top of the card and have him wrestle other top guys. But those guys are all taken, right? Gunther's taken, Jay's taken, Cena and Cody, they're doing their thing. Like, and so you don't want him down with like the Akira Tozawas on a regular basis, and you can't have him up because you don't want him taking losses to guys at the top of the card. So he kind of just is like floating out there in this weird spot because of just how he wants to get booked, but there just isn't enough spots for him right now. So I think by the end of 2025 he'll be in a much better position, but he is just floating around right now. And when you see that around WrestleMania season, like, Sami Zayn is going to be in a similar boat, unfortunately.
I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, like, when you're floating like that, usually you find yourself in a multi-person match.
Like, it would not surprise me if Sami truly believes he doesn't have a WrestleMania match this year. Just like listening to him talk on because I took part Monday. It was the Elimination Chamber virtual media tour, and Sami was a part of that. On multiple occasions, he was talking about this weekend's match with Kevin Owens feeling like his WrestleMania, or feeling like a wrestler or a Canadian WrestleMania, or making some kind of a reference to this being a WrestleMania match. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, well, yeah, if you're done with Kevin after this, where do you go? Because the only other match that makes sense to me, that he's the only other person that he's been involved with, is Karrion Kross. And this is no disrespect to Karrion Kross, because I feel like he is one of the most underutilized talents on Monday Night Raw. As a guy who should be going up against somebody like a Bron Breakker. That match ain't making it on WrestleMania. You're not doing. Right. Karrion Kross hasn't wrestled even at a house show or on main event this year. It's March tomorrow. Karrion Kross hasn't wrestled this year. Wow. You ain't doing that match at WrestleMania. I'm sorry. There's no way you're fitting that on the card. So I don't know what Sami is going to do. If KO and Orton is the direction they go, do you put Sami Zayn back in the Intercontinental title picture again? If they got to figure something out with Sami. All right,
he's got to have something. Yeah,
that will be my hashtag moment, right? Like, I'll figure out a hashtag for Sami, okay? Because that guy has consistently put on the best WrestleMania match, or one of the best WrestleMania matches, every year dating back to 38.
Yep. And 38 was a special piece of work. I'll die on that hill. I will die on that hill.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes, it was. It was. It was one of the best matches of the entire weekend, and he wrestled the Jackass Crew.
Yes.
That's a testament to his Hall of Fame level career. He can work with anybody. So I'm interested to see what that happened. If they're right now, I'm going to go a 6-person ladder match. I'm going to go, if I'm booking, right, I'm going to go Breakker. I'm going to go Logan Paul. I'm going to go.
What's that, Rick? Huh?
Logan Paul. Penta, AJ Styles, Finn Balor. Oh, man. I still don't know where I'm putting Sami, because
what about Lucha Chad Gable in that match?
Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser. I think he's earned.
Oh, my gosh. On that note, guys, we're going to wrap this baby up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Discussions on the Takedown on SI. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Lots of fun stuff coming up here in the lead up to WrestleMania for sure. We got some cool interviews that are going to hit next week as well. So hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and like this baby so we can keep this thing rolling. I'm Zach. That's Rick. Talk to you soon.